If I run out of oxygen when I run away,
there's a place in town where we all hang out, where the country girls go and the boys get loud. When the whistle blows, we make quite the crowd. When the sun sets low on Friday,
from the pubs in Ireland to Tennessee, from the west coast down to Myrtle Beach, showing every little town here and in between. Yeah, we know how to party on Friday.
and the band plays on and the taps they flow. The boss man's yelling, but we've all gone home. Come a Monday morning, I will atone, but tonight ain't Monday, it's Friday. Well, I like my job, but I love my friends.
So you know where I'll be when the work weekends.
At the little country tavern just around the bend, when the sun sets low on Friday, and the band plays on and the taps they flow. The boss man's yelling, but we've all gone home. Come a Monday morning, I will atone, but tonight ain't Monday, it's Friday.
Yes, bud.
There's a place in town where we all hang out, where the country girls go and the boys get loud. When the whistle blows, we make quite the crowd. When the sun sets low on Friday, and the band plays on and the taps they flow. The boss man's yelling, but we've all gone home. Come a Monday morning, I will atone, but tonight ain't Monday, it's Friday. Not tonight ain't Monday, it's Friday. Not tonight ain't Monday, it's Friday. we started this band, all we needed was a laugh. Years gone by, I'd say we've kicked some. Hey, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Can't stop my heart, give it a start. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Can't stop my heart, hope it never stops. Yeah, baby.
When you're alone, life can be a little rough. It makes you feel like you're 3 foot tall. When it's just you, well, times can be tough.
When there's no one there to catch your fall.
3 foot tall. Like you're 3 foot tall. 3 foot tall.
When there's no one there to
I am from the crossroad, off-road, dodging all of the potholes in my auto, mobile, holler a note, watch ho, we lost hope like Bob Hope. So what are we supposed to follow? I'm a leader, not an apostle, but I believe in the freedom that God holds. I'm on the top rope, ready to jump, so watch close. Been criticized and bucks though, since I was a snot-nosed kid. We ain't living for tomorrow, we live for the Lord. Oh, everybody trying to fit in the crowd like, where's Waldo? I freeze time like photographs, living for the moment. I'm taking mental pictures, reminiscing while I'm growing. When I see the light of day, right away, I write away, cause things I write and say give me direction like Michael Bay. I need some in my life because my plans, they never work out. Like when I make plans to work out, cause everything don't always turn out how you want them to. Honest truth, nah, ain't nothing wrong with Luke. I'll walk this path alone, but I need somebody here to talk me through. But who?
When you're alone, life can be a little rough. It makes you feel like you're 3 foot tall. When it's just you, well, times can be tough.
When there's no one there to catch your fall.
Yeah.
When you're alone, life can be a little rough. It makes you feel like you're 3 foot tall. When it's just you, well, times can be tough. When there's no one there to catch your fall. 3 foot tall. Like you're 3 foot tall. 3 foot tall. When
Yeah,
there's no one
hey yo,
there to
I know
catch
we
your
had
fall.
our unity, community, with everyone I did music with, but over the years they disappeared. No, ain't too many still doing this. Feeling like I gone to war, lost my soldiers on the journey. Feeling like we built a team, but only I wear the jersey. Yeah, everything comes and goes. I dealt with the undertow, keeping my head above the water, pushed on. Now I run the show. I know the situation's never perfect. Deal with what you got. Never bite your tongue. Say your piece. Don't let them shut you up. They say everything is about money. Nah, only business. If your friends think that, then you hang with money hungry pigeons. The world is hollow. Y'all need to eat. I'm making a pot roast. These people are over themselves, and I ain't into feeding no cockroach. Wrong or right. I know the type. Don't be a gimmick. Cause everything comes full circle. Jerk, get it? I ain't looking for the exit. I'm trying to show you where my head is. When you feel alone, play my songs, and that keeps us connected. Check it.
When you're alone, life can be a little rough. It makes you feel like you're 3 foot tall. When it's just you, well, times can be tough.
Yeah.
When there's no one there to catch your fall.
When you're alone, life can be a little rough. It makes you feel like you're 3 foot tall. When it's just you, well, times can be tough.
Yeah.
When there's no one there to catch your fall.
Say
3 foot tall. Like you're 3 foot tall.
slang, I speak it every day. I'm trying to get it poppin' each and every way. It's one nation under goons. My goons are stripping all these cats down to the under rules.
Colors fading, 'cause I kept you waiting. It's a wild, wild world, and you're a wild, wild girl. Our sun's still shining, but it seems half the size, and it's a wild, wild world out here. Before my time runs.
Will the congregation please rise as you are able?
I told you don't worry about me. There's nothing we can do. Just spend some time with me. It's all I want from you. I worry about my family and what they're going through. Spending the days waiting for me in the waiting room. And dance with me tonight, like everything's alright. I took the hit and I got back up. Do it again with all that I've got. Here's the rules. Stay strong for me and I'll stay strong for you. Summer is here but it's slipping away. Why would we want to waste a good day? Here's the rules. Stay strong for me and I'll stay strong for you. one way how to deal. You said I'm gonna break you out and get us out of here. I've already been to Paris, let's go to Amsterdam. We'll head south to Italy and draw names in the sand and dance with me tonight. Like all we've got is time. I took the hit and I got back up. Do it again with all that I've got. Here's the rules. Stay strong for me and I'll stay strong for you. Summer is here but it's slipping away. Why would we want to waste a good day? Here's the rules. Stay strong for me and I'll stay strong for you. Stay strong for me and I'll stay strong for you. Stay strong for me and I'll stay strong for you. Stay strong for me and I'll stay strong for you.
Everyone can be seated. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this great facility, graciously provided to us by RDP and Hockey Alberta. And we're gathered here today to celebrate the life of Michael Klass. My name is Drew Towers. I'm Mike's cousin by birth, brother by choice. Today we're going to hear from a handful of people, each here to speak to an aspect of Mike's life. Mike was telling me that at one of the many leadership conferences he attended over the years, the discussion was around, what's your legacy? How do you want to be remembered? And that resonated with Mike all these years later, and now that forms the theme of the day. You'll hear people speak about Mike the colleague, Mike the volunteer, a community builder. You'll hear about Coach Mike, and most importantly, Mike the friend, and Mike the family man. The people speaking today are all people who Mike chose specifically to share that particular facet of what made Michael Klass. I'd also like you to take note of the music selections today. Music was a huge part of Mike's life for as long as I can remember. Just a couple of weeks ago, I sent him a meme photo of a stereo system with stacked components behind the glass door. And the caption was, if you're old enough, you can still hear the echo of the glass door opening. And Mike laughed, and he said, that guy must be rich. He has Sony, and I only had Technics. And I reminded him that he worked his ass off to save for that stereo, building Quonsets in the summer in Strasbourg, which speaks to the work ethic he developed early in life. I think the speakers from that system are still in Mike and Cheryl's basement TV room. One of my earliest memories of the two of us hanging out was upstairs in his room in Strasbourg, sitting on the floor in front of that stereo. He was making my first mixtape, and we were recording from vinyl to cassette. I was maybe 8. I don't remember all of the songs on that tape, but I do remember recording Stand By Me from vinyl. And I was reading the pullout from the Benny King record. And I'm not sure why this stands out, but during the recording we were listening, and every time that song would offer the sound, you know, he would reach over and pretend like he was striking a match on me. He'd strike on my knee. The other day, I went and visited Mike and Cheryl in the hospital, and I told them that we had just watched the movie Stand By Me with the kids, and immediately he reached over and went, He struck the match. In 1986, Mike traveled with my families. We drove to Vancouver for Expo 86. I came back the biggest Motley Crue fan in 5th grade. That lasted through grade 7 and 8, which means I can also blame Mike for having a mullet way too far into the 90s. Somewhere around 91 or 92, I remember sitting in our basement in Nipawin. We now had a stereo like Mike did. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And which at this point included a CD player. I was still into the 80s hard rock and metal at that time, but I distinctly remember Mike having a CD case and saying, "You have to listen to this." And he pulled out a disc with a red cover, and it was Road Apples by the Tragically Hip. Mike was a huge Hip fan, and after that time, there were times where I stayed with the Klasses. We went to the Roadside Attraction tour in Craven. Mike and I saw the Hip together in Red Deer. He saw one of their final shows and the final tour before Gord Downey died. And Mike and Cheryl and Jen and I all watched the Hip's final show on TV at our house. So fittingly, Mike asked us to play some Hip today. So as our first speaker, Mike's colleague and boss at Hockey Alberta, Rob Litwinski, makes his way to the stage. We're going to listen to some Hip.
I'm honored to have been asked by Mike and Cheryl to be part of this service honoring my friend, our Hockey Alberta teammate, Mike Klass. I first met Mike as part of another team, the Pylons Beer League hockey team. I'm not sure if you talked to Mike that he always thought it was a beer league hockey team, but it was. I could get us way behind and off schedule, Drew, but I'll leave those stories to Jimmy. I think it's so suiting that Mike and family asked us to wear sports jerseys. They symbolize the power of what it means to be a team and have that feeling of belonging and standing up for each other, patting each other on the back and kicking each other in the pants every so often. Mike did that. Mike epitomized what team is. To me, what comes with being part of a team is what made Mike Klass such a good leader and teammate for us at Hockey Alberta. And I know so many of us in the audience today. I'm proud to wear this jersey. I'm honored that I got to be on the same Hockey Alberta team with Mike. I'll never forget it. I know this jersey I'm wearing today says Alberta. However, Mike never forgot his Saskatchewan roots. As a proud Albertan myself, every chance I could, I tried to poke holes in that Saski pride, but I never had him sway once. Mike worked with Hockey Alberta for 9 years. Mike started as a manager in 2014, and he had served as our director of business operations for the past 5 years. His roles were important ones for Hockey Alberta, and for me in my role. His leadership role extended to important work with our board. However, that's not what defined Mike at all. What his teammates, if you asked any one of us, would say, they didn't talk about Mike's titles. He was truly a leader without the need for a title. He wore his passion on his sleeve and in his heart for Hockey Alberta and for hockey and for sport in general. Oh, that passion. As our staff have gathered to remember our teammate, We have many stories of advice that Mike had for various other elements of our business. There's no secret that Mike did occasionally walk over to other areas of our business and offer advice and feedback to elements of programs, high performance, coaching, and events. I add one other one, what seemed to be one of Mike's favorites, and it's in your mind right now: additional advice on officiating. I understand there'd be people in this room today that have seen similar passion with Mike, I'm using this a lot, helping officials in both lacrosse and hockey. Mike believed in collaboration. Collaboration on topics with Mike often led to a common phrase from Mike: well, I don't really see things that way. When you heard that, it was a signal, regardless of topic, it was going to be a robust discussion. In my role, I had the chance to work with Mike daily. We had so many conversations on a wide variety of topics. Man, I'm going to miss those. When I think of Mike with Hockey Alberta, I think of courage. Some of Hockey Alberta's toughest moments, I had 0% doubt where Mike was at. Whether leading or supporting, Mike, every single time, was there when he was needed. It's a great feeling to have that as a teammate. He was so proud of this organization. We're fortunate that we have current and former staff with passion for this work. Some have been here for a decade or more or before. With that as the background, I will say this: there is no one that loved working for Hockey Alberta more than Mike. That showed in Mike's care for the organization, his care for others, and for how he felt we all needed to represent ourselves. Any good organization has heart and soul people that are much more than their role, but they become the fabric of an organization. Mike was one of those people. As our staff have talked about Mike, I heard some things that I knew, and I heard some things that I had never heard before. Without any fanfare, he was there for so many of our staff, for their kids, for their big moments, even some of their tougher moments. That was Mike. He cared authentically. Mike's optimism was incredible in his journey with cancer. In doing so, he led a pretty regular work life, despite what he never fully let us know was actually going on. He actually took some video calls during his chemo last year. We talked about that, and we said, Mike, you really should give some people heads up when they do a video call and you're actually doing chemo. His response would be, no, I'm good. I'm there to help other people. Drew said this earlier today: Mike lived to serve others. That optimism never swayed this fall as he announced to all of us that he's up for his next battle. He felt strongly about continuing to contribute to Hockey Alberta in every and any way he could, and we let him. Mike's office, if you were to go look at it today, is a testament to his optimism. He was coming back tomorrow, the next day, or the next week. It was not a question. On behalf of Hockey Alberta and myself personally, I was lucky and honored to work with Mike as a colleague and a close friend, a person that I enjoyed spending a lot of time with every workday. While some of the photos you see of Hockey Alberta don't exactly show that it's the most demanding job, Hockey Alberta can be a very demanding job with evenings, weekends, and lots of pressure in our sport. It's something that goes with the territory. Mike is one of the most committed staff people I've ever worked with. To Cheryl, Kai, Parker, thank you for letting Hockey Alberta have some of Mike's precious time. His love for his family came through in so many ways in our office. I'm going to miss him. We're going to miss him. We'll never forget the contributions he has made and the strong legacy he's left for our sport and our people. Mike Klass, Hockey for Life.
Thanks, Rob. So for anybody in the room that's from Red Deer, you all know our next speaker, Lynn Radford. For those joining us from Saskatchewan and elsewhere, Lynn is a tireless volunteer in Central Alberta, winning numerous awards for volunteerism and community building, including the 2009 Rotary Citizen of the Year, 2007 Mayor's Award for Voluntary Service, and the Alberta Centennial Medal in 2005. I know Lynn was a friend and a mentor to Mike in these areas, and the facility we're sitting in is a monument to that work. So who better to speak to Mike's community involvement than Lynn Radford? Lynn?
Thank you, Drew. So everybody's going to have to bear with me today. This is one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. I'm going to start off by traveling back 20 years ago to the picture I have in my mind of the youngish Mike Klass joining the 2006 Alberta Summer Games as one of the portfolio managers. I recall Barb McKee wanting Mike on the team as she experienced his strong team play at the Collicutt Center where he worked. I use the word youngish liberally, as Mike was already married while working there, and Cheryl and Mike also welcomed their firstborn, Kai. There was not a more proud dad at that moment than Mike. While reminiscing with the 06 Canada Games staff, Jillian, Tina, Lauren, Amanda, Maria, Nicole, Jonathan, and Joanne, they thought Mike at first might be a little too old to hang with them. But true to Mike's nature, they soon realized he was just the older brother that they needed, again and again and again. One memory emerged of a team building exercise where you had to name a fact many didn't know about you. He told them he got married in a communist country. Well, that really baffled them. They were all trying to guess, but nobody guessed where. It was Cuba. Another memory emerged of listening to the same 4 CDs on repeat in their office. Obviously, they didn't have the same equipment that they had at home. Another memory of them was Mike was teaching them about getting involved in the community beyond your job. I recall all the board of directors and staff of those 6 games soon relied on Mike for his valuable input, the necessary sarcasm to relieve the pressure, and games people will understand what I mean, and most of all, how responsible he was. They did not always appreciate, though, the dad jokes, nor the pranks, nor the unwanted humor when they just wanted to be mad at someone. But as with Mike's nature, we all had to admit they were delivered just right. When the games were successfully completed, Mike and I stayed in touch. He ventured into another realm of my volunteer work, the Alberta Sports Development Centre. Here, Mike really began to get involved with the crux of the sport community. Building from his networking for the 2000 Games, Mike developed strong relationships with the local sport agencies and with the past government agency, Alberta Sport Connection. Mike eventually also became a board member of the Sport Council of Red Deer, SCORD. The Alberta Sport Development Centre is a program that helps all sport organizations ready their emerging athletes for the next level of competition beyond the local borders. All athletes have common services needed that is beyond sport tech specific: nutrition, strength and conditioning training, sports psych training, all of that. It gives our local athletes an opportunity to stay home longer and not have to travel the many miles up and down the highways to a larger center. Mike became the executive director and to many of our local emerging athletes and would often lobby for better services in our community to help those athletes in their home. He also became friends with many of the Olympians we had from here, as he worked with them to help shape the next generation of Olympians. Mike became the go-to person for sport in Red Deer. During these years, he also began a journey with the Alberta Government Games Delivery Group. Many people he was involved with. Soon, he was part of 6 Alberta Games mission staff, 2 Western Canada Games, and 1 Canada Games mission staffs, all volunteer time. And Cheryl held down the fort so he could build this extensive resume. He became an excellent resource for his mentors. In his role as executive director of the Alberta Sport Development, he also became a volunteer administrator for another nonprofit, the Red Deer Games Foundation. This foundation grants funds twice a year to help local athletes showing high potential in their sport to get some added funding. Mike was able to share information about athletes that maybe it didn't come to light in their application. maybe things like a home life or other challenges that these young people had. Many of these youngsters will never know the huge positive impact Mike had on helping them and their parents move forward. But there are several of us that do know, and we will always remember. Mike was so valuable that when he took his next job with Hockey Alberta, the board of Red Deer Games Foundation quickly offered him a seat at the board table, as we did not want to lose this vast resource. Through all those years, Mike always challenged the status quo. It'll be a common theme I'm sure you're going to hear. Many times humorously, though. But he always had an excellent point that should be considered. He liked healthy debate, and many times we didn't see a winner or a loser in the debate, but rather just the right solution. In 2007, Mike applied and became a member of the Leadership Center. Here, Mike and 15 other colleagues went through a numerous leader training sessions. His colleagues recall Mike as the youngest member of the group, but a powerful voice when he spoke. Imagine that. One of the tasks often was to perform learning situation tasks, and it often ended humorously with Mike involved. The one quality that really bespoke to this group, though, was the way Mike was able to weave a beautiful blanket of his personal and professional life. Over the passing years, as this group would weave in and out of their lives, the one constant always was how Mike would speak of Cheryl and the boys, and he would just light up. In 2009, we began another ride together, the 2010 Olympic Torch Relay. We as Red Deer had a celebration stop. Host cities were selected across Alberta. So I called Mike up and asked him if he wanted to come along for the ride. So with some of the crew of the 06 Games and a few new ones sprinkled in, we hosted the biggest celebration per capita in the whole country. Estimated was over 20,000 people engaged in that celebration that evening. And Mike was in the thick of the planning. My biggest recall of this event was him describing to me how the bonfire barrels were going to work. I'm pretty sure I had numerous comments of making sure he didn't get us into any type of liability. The funniest details that stay with you. Mike had the opportunity to hold the torch, and you can see the pride of Canada that he felt. In May of 2011, Mike came to me with what would become his and my greatest community legacy, the 2019 Canada Winter Games. Mike and I had socially gathered many times with gamers, a little bit different interpretation to today's youth interpretation, and with these key community members of the past bid committee of the 95 Canada Games, and heard of the regret of not winning that bid. Mike realized that in a few months, Alberta would be announced as the host province for the 2019 Games. He called me one day. Ms. Radford, Barb McKee reminded me that always preceded a conversation that you knew something big was coming up. Mrs. R., we need to get to City Council and get them ready for the 2019 Canada Winter Games bid coming to Red Deer. And that's exactly what he and I did, and the ride began again. One of the biggest sporting events to be held in Red Deer since the 95 Games, and we wanted Red Deer to host them. We spent many hours strategizing, preparing, socializing, or having pops, as Mike would say, getting the details worked out. In 2013, Red Deer officially entered the race, and Mike and I were there. The written submission went in, and then the community tour happened, once again with Mike in a very key role of athlete and village services, one of the highest scoring sections of the bid at the helm. I can see him telling them about this app that athletes were going to have to give them access to all their event material, a concept that was just starting, but Mike was already on top of it. He was always so inventive and sometimes just ahead of the curve. Mike was not able to be with me when I traveled to Calgary for the announcement of the win, but he was leading the Red Deer celebration group, and I can still remember his huge grin and hug a few hours later when we met and the celebration began and the work begun. And Mike was still there when the work begun. In his new role with Hockey Alberta, Mike wanted to be part of the games, and we needed him. Mike took on senior volunteer leader role in games operations. His contribution was impactful. The millions of dollars of legacy builds and the vast volunteer capacity of volunteer building, this building is a result because Mike Klass started the ball rolling. Thank you, Mike. Through all this high adventure, Mike was still there for the boys and their sport endeavors. Mike contributed to the local sport scene, being part of the Lacrosse Association, Coach Alberta, and helping with the hockey and volleyball parent volunteer duties. Mike was the go-to person when we needed the scoop on what was happening in sport in Red Deer. And it's very ironic today. 8 years ago, Mike was the first person to teach me about Movember, symbolizing healthier men in a healthier world. Once again, his vision was ahead of most. It has been hard for me to try to place in words what Mike and I shared. He propped me up so many times. I have been referred to as his mentor, but today I am sad. I thought in many years to come, it would be Mike up here speaking at my life celebration, rather than his mentor speaking at his. In May, we were texting as he was traveling the new medical regime. He needed to be careful of crowds. But as I walked from the podium after receiving my designation into the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame, who did I see in the crowd? But Mike. I could not believe it. Yet I should have known that he was there. My soul soared. But that's how Mike was, humble and supportive. In true Mike style, he called me a week ago Friday to have another very tough conversation, one of the toughest of my life. He called me to ask me to walk you through this community legacy. 5 minutes seems so short for so much wrong work. I wanted to shout to Mike, Mike, this isn't the right solution, but it was his solution. And once again, he gave me honor. If you look at his LinkedIn page, you will not see all the things I have talked about today. You will see a humble fact list, but none of the substance, the heart, and the sass that many of us got to enjoy. Mrs. Schaefer, you raised a wonderful young man. Cheryl, you supported Mike so much through the years, and clearly his love for you remains through the wonderful boys you both have raised. Kai and Parker, please know that your dad in his short time on this earth built a legacy in our community that few will ever equal. I have often used the adage, leave your community a better place than you found it. Michael Klass, you have outscored so many. I love you, I will miss you, and I will never forget you, and my remaining years will be built continuing your legacy. Oh, I had taken your notes here. Sorry.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights when you've got no lights, the check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiancé didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
It's a little known fact there, Nami, that Mike Klass was a huge fan of the TV show Cheers. He was also a fan of my Cliff Clavin impression. But he'd usually follow it with a Normism, like, hey, what's shaking, Norm? Just all 4 cheeks and a couple of chins, Sammy. Or, how's the world treating you, Normie? Like a baby treats a diaper, coach. So while Mike was a huge fan of the show, I think the Cheers theme conjures up some other feelings of friendship and camaraderie, especially over a beverage and a snack, as Mike called it. That means beer and wings. And as the lyrics in the song suggest, where everybody knows your name, you could not go for a beer with this guy in this town and not have someone know him. And by the way, this seems like a good time to remind everybody that there will be beverages and snacks upstairs for everybody. That means beer and wings. Upstairs here after the service, and all are invited to raise one more glass to Mike. Mike and Cheryl moved to Red Deer in 2002 and me in 2003. I didn't know anyone here, and Mike suggested that we join the City Rec League hockey. Mike played his whole life, but I hadn't played since Bantam, but I agreed to join. We just had to put our skill levels down. Him, lifelong player, me, tripod, and asked to be on the same team. Everyone else on that team was luck of the draw, and as that luck would have it, we ended up with a great group of guys. Our next speaker was the goalie on that team, and one of the many lifelong friends Mike made from the original City League rec team that became the Pylons. So next speaker is James Wright, or as Mike always called him, Jimmy.
I might need one of Rob's motivational speeches before I start here. You're up 8-1, boys. Worst lead in hockey. All right, I'm James Wright, or Jimmy the goalie, or Red Light Wright. All nicknames Mike lovingly bestowed on me throughout our years as Pylons. Mike, or Klass, Clapper, player coach Mike, contacted me before his passing to ask me to talk about the value of friendship and a specific story about the impact of the Pylons. I was lucky enough to get past the discomfort I felt sharing my feelings with Mike and was able to tell him this story while he was still with us. I encourage everyone to share with the people around you the impact they have on your life. I was given my first job out of university in Red Deer, a small town compared to the larger cities I'd grown up in. I loved the short commute, entrepreneurial spirit, and many indoor and outdoor sports facilities. Something was still missing to make this home. When I moved to Red Deer, I didn't know many people outside of work. Brad Pounder, my coworker and university buddy, and I decided to sign up for Jack Benny hockey. This is where we met Mike. He was on the same team as we were. We only played one season in this league before Mike contacted players from a few teams and formed a beer league team called the Pylons. The team was comprised of people who wanted to play hockey, have fun, and socialize. It didn't matter where you came from or what you did for work. If you fit the hockey, fun, socialize mantra, you were in. Mike organized beers after each game, floats down the river in the summer, family get-togethers, bonfires, and a Vegas hockey trip. This community and camaraderie Mike helped build was what had been missing for me when I moved here. In Red Deer, I had my home and my work, but I was missing that important third place. By creating the Pylons and everything that came with being on the team, Mike made a fun place to play hockey, a place to share amongst friends, a place where you were encouraged to help the community through fundraising events, coaching, and board involvement, and a place to talk about your family and how to be the most engaged in that family. Having strong personal connections made Red Deer a place I decided to call home, start and build a business, and have a family. Mike was central to this community. I'm convinced that many people who were part of the broader Pylons community that Mike created would not still be in Red Deer if it were not for this creation. This is part of Mike's legacy. Once a person meets Mike, they're friends for life. Some friendships started in childhood, like the one with Kevin Biller, Cab, who he met in 1981 in grade 4. A few years ago, Mike joined a team headed by Pete Julian. This new group instantly bonded with Mike. Mike's friendship is infectious, and he genuinely cares about everyone he meets, and will try to maintain connections for life. Anytime Mike would go out, he would always know people. His reach extended far and wide. It didn't matter if you were at a hockey rink, volleyball tournament, or traveling. Someone would know Mike. Mike, you may no longer be with us physically, but your legacy of a positive place to live, play, and grow a family will be with Red Deer and area for generations. The world is a better place because of what you built during your time with us. When our time comes, I know you'll be waiting for us, ready to share stories and have our first pint in the sky. 2 more, Mike, 2 more. Love you, Mike.
Hello out there, we're on the air, it's hockey night tonight. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Second period, where players dash with skates aflash. The home team trails behind, but they grab the puck and go bursting up, and they're down across the line. They storm the crease like bumblebees. They travel like a burning flame. We see them slide the puck inside. It's a 1-1 hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name.
See, Cheryl, they can do fades. So for our next speaker, I'd like to invite Peter Julian to the stage to say a few words about another aspect of Mike's life, Coach Mike. Come on up, Pete.
Good morning. My name is Peter Julian. Mike Klass was a great friend to me and to many of us here today. Together, we shared many adventures, skates, practices, beers, discussions, and opinions through the many years while we were both raising a family and coaching in the community. Mike and I shared a love of sport and a passion for getting involved to create opportunities for others to learn to love sports, hopefully the way we did. Today, we're celebrating Mike's life and feeling the weight of our loss. That sadness and loss is somehow more intense due to the profound impact Mike had on all of us. This grief is somehow greater because of the greatness with which he lived. Thank you to Cheryl, Parker, Kai, and the rest of the family for sharing him with us through all these many years, and especially this last 18 months. My first opportunity to get to see Mike's approach to coaching was in lacrosse when my son was playing. I was extremely impressed by Mike's approach He was patient, firm, and eager to find ways to both improve the skills of the players and their leadership qualities. You may recall that for Michael, he would often find three things. They were always positive. He might comment on a player's individual play in the game. He might comment on how the team produced a hard-working effort in the second half. Or he might refer to an incredible passing play or something that was maybe drawn from a practice. In all examples, it was positive, and it was usually three things. He even went so far that year to prepare his year-end speech into a poem. And in sharing stories over the last few days, it sounds like he did that often. What an extraordinary effort. And yet, he did it for everyone. As our kids aged and their skills developed as athletes and hockey players, we were fortunate enough to coach again in 2019 at the bantam age of U15. The coaches that year shared a passion for the game and could spend hours talking through strategy or individual plays, and I mean hours. That year, Chris Mallow was head coach. Mike, Tracy, and I took a team to Regina for a great tournament experience that included a visit to the RCMP depot and some unforgettable memories that developed, such as the John Denver Country Road song that still brings a smile every time I hear it. In every sport, every opportunity, Mike always found a way to be enthusiastic and bring passion to his messages. It's so great to see so many of you here today wearing jerseys and showing the tremendous impact he had on this community. Michael was involved with so many teams, so many coaches, and too many players to count. And it has been hard to fit all these stories into today, so I hope we can continue to share these afterwards. A recurring story that I have to share involves Michael's in-depth knowledge of the rules and those responsible to administer them. Inevitably, when a referee made a mistake, Mike would keep the gate open or maybe give it an extra little slam in order to get the referee to come over and have a talk. Mike would stand, his chest would pop out, his hands would go down, and he'd wait, somewhat impatiently, for the ref to come. His dialogue with the referee was always factually accurate to the rule book and was executed with the theme of be better. Then play could resume. I was fortunate to get some time with Mike a couple of weeks ago in the hospital. We reminisced and shared stories from the years that we coached, and we spoke about you, his players, and how much joy it had brought to him. We shared pictures of the team events, and talked about the tournaments and travels that make up the amazing memories that we all share. It struck me that day that his positive attitude wasn't just for coaching, it was truly how he lived his life. He remained positive and focused on others, even while he was suffering through his illness, and remained so to the end. That day, 2 weeks ago in the hospital, Mike asked me to speak to his service, to his involvement in coaching. He asked that I share with you all here today how important a part of his life coaching was, and how important you were to him. There were a couple of us in the room when he said to me, and Corey, I want to share three things. It was always about working hard, bringing your best every day. It was always about showing respect to the people involved, and it was always about having fun. He was thrilled to see you come back and play the next practice, the next game, and the next season. While this is great coaching advice, I think this is how he lived his life and why we're all feeling the loss we are today. Thanks, Michael. As always, we miss you.
The midnight sun, wheels go round and round on my mind. Restless hearts sleep alone through nights, sending all my love along the wire. They say that the road ain't no place to start a family. Right down the line, it's been you and me. And love and the music, man, ain't always what it's supposed to be. Oh, girl, you stand by me. I'm forever yours, faithfully.
So that brings us to our final speaker today. That's Mike's brother-in-law, Corey Loroff. Corey's also a Strasburger. Is that what you guys call yourselves? That doesn't seem right. Anyway, Corey's married to Mike's sister, Melanie. He's going to share with us his thoughts on the most important facet of Mike Klass. That's Mike, the husband, the dad, the son, the brother, and all-around family man. Corey, come on up.
I apologize. This is going to be hard. Okay. Well, what does family mean to Michael? I call him Michael. You're going to know him as Mike. For me, best way to sum it up was it defined him. Next to Cheryl, Kai, and Parker, being part of a healthy family was everything. Michael obviously put in so much effort into building community relationships and friendships, but he did the same to strengthen our family's connection. Every family has someone special at the center of it all. For us, that was Michael. If our family had a team jersey, he would wear the C. He was our captain, he was our leader. And I just assumed that he would always be here. Mike relentlessly wanted us all to be around each other. It didn't matter what we were doing, just that we would do it together. His mom, his brother, his sister, his aunts, uncles, and nieces, his nephew, his in-laws, Archie, anybody's dog, everyone and anyone, anytime, anywhere. All he expected in return was the same love and support and for you to be present. Of course, hindsight is always crystal clear, but I see that we all benefited from his effort, and admittedly, some of us took that for granted. Very recently, last week, Michael told me to never give up on anyone. He said that no matter what, family is always worth working for. Everyone deserves a chance. I'm not sure that we all have the same optimism and perseverance that he had. Yeah, he could be difficult at times. As we all know, if he needed to share his opinion, he wouldn't hold back. But that was only because he cared so much about those close to him. A lot of people in this room knew Mike through his boys and as a coach. I can't speak to him as a coach, but I can see similarities from that part of his life to how he treated us, his family. Mike was built to teach and share, not just as a coach or his dad or a brother or an uncle. So we've now all heard the 3 pieces to Michael's coaching philosophy. Did you try your hardest? Did you respect the people involved? And did you have fun? So as I was reflecting on our life with Michael, I realized that he applied these attributes to family life as well. He always tried his hardest, and he was present in our lives and was usually the one to reach out to others. He absolutely respected all of us and accepted that we were all unique and we brought something different to our relationship. And he absolutely had fun. Holy man. Sun-filled vacations, camping trips, birthday parties, long weekends, Christmas, Easter, any reason to spend time together. Boys trips, fishing trips, mountain hikes, river floats, limo rides that caught on fire, and a late night game of crib with a couple of craft beers. Anything at all, just that we do it together. Our 2 families are very close. We're forever trying to plan the next event, whether it's a destination vacation, a camping trip, or a sports trip for just the guys. There's always something on the horizon for us, which Michael eagerly contributed to planning. As mentioned earlier, the crazy thing was, it didn't matter where we went, any city, anywhere, he knew somebody there. It's ridiculous, no matter where we went. There's many examples of how Michael loved our family. I've forgotten more than I can remember. He shared an incredible bond with his sister Melanie and genuinely participated in the lives of my 2 children. There's always a call on a birthday or a special event. He never, ever missed one. One of his favorite things to do was to share endless stupid dad jokes with my kids. They're usually meant to embarrass an uncle more than a niece. Supporting family was so very important to Mike. On many occasions, he would travel to other cities to watch my children in tournaments and competitions. If scheduling wouldn't allow the whole Klass family to attend, then he would take time to make the trip himself. Not just here in Red Deer, not close to home. He'd travel to Calgary, Fort Sask, even Saskatoon, where we're from. It didn't matter. If he couldn't do that, then he'd take time out of the day to watch the event online and always offered words of encouragement, regardless of the outcome. He truly strived to promote a strong, fun, and engaging family unit. And because of his efforts, we have so memories and stories to cherish forever. I'm going to ramble on a bit. I got a couple of stories that I want to tell. One of the memories, I think, illustrates just how important. This past August, the Klass and Loroff gangs, we decided to go on one of the famous river floats you just heard of down the Red Deer River. I'm sure there's friends in this room right now that participated in one of those in years past. He put in so much effort to make sure this could happen for our 2 families. Keep in mind how tired he was through his battle. Even through an immensely challenging personal struggle, he found a way to carry on because of how much this day meant to him and to us. In the back of my mind, I knew that this would most likely be the last time he could do this. I hoped I was wrong. So, as all of us got the boats down to the river, it became apparent that they wouldn't all hold air, let alone float. We put them in the water, and there's bubbles everywhere. So we figured out pretty quickly that we needed to abandon them. Abandon one of them and all pile in together in the remaining boats. Pretty close and intimate guy, you and I. Got to know each other a little closer. I'm sorry. But none of that deterred Michael. He deflated his boat and insisted that the rest of us should just get going down the river. Everyone except himself, of course. And if you knew Michael well, you knew when to argue and when not to. This was clearly one of the times not to. So he sent us on our way with plans to pick us up at the end of the journey, unknown to us as we're leisurely floating down the river, enjoying the sun. He went into town and bought another boat. So imagine us 3/4 of the way down, 2 hours into our float, and there goes Michael, flying by on some speed racer thing he found at the Innisfail Co-op. Oh, he absolutely was going to take this opportunity to show us up. That day just showed me how caring, selfless, and courageous he was. It's hard to believe that was just 3 months ago. Cousin camp, that was another real big deal for our families. Every summer, our 4 kids would spend a week together, alternating years between the Klass home in Alberta and the Loroff home in Saskatchewan. Cousin camp in Alberta was always over the top exciting. In one year, it was Alberta Summer Games themed, which included realistic credential lanyards for all athletes. Rob, judging by the merchandise, I think Hockey Alberta unofficially sponsored the event. Competitions involved outside obstacle courses, ladder golf, bocce ball, track and field events, indoor board games when the weather didn't cooperate. All designed to not give anyone an advantage, and somehow each participant was able to win an event. Later I found out, this might be a little bit on Cheryl, but later I found out that every single day ice cream was served as a main course meal. Nothing else, just ice cream. I'm not sure if that was Mike's way of carb loading or not, but I can confirm the athletes didn't complain. I mentioned earlier that Mike was born to coach or to teach, but being a dad and a husband while creating a wonderful family was the most important to him. He was committed to being the best dad possible, probably because that was denied him as a kid himself, which likely helped reinforce the importance of a strong family. We've all heard of Mike's great attributes of being such a terrific friend, a community builder, and a coach, but above all else, he was an even better dad. He absolutely loved to share everything he could with his boys, from teaching Kai and Parker how to play crib when they were very young, or starting a fire on an overnight backpacking trip for just the 3. Teaching the boys how to skate, receive a pass, or just throw the football around the yard were some of his favorites. He loved to spend time with the boys. He was so incredibly proud of Kai and Parker and heavily involved in their interests. Whether it was hockey, lacrosse, volleyball, or school activities, their personal relationships, if he couldn't teach them, he for sure was their biggest fan and sometimes their critic. Watching his children perform brought such joy, but he absolutely expected them to do their best and try in everything that they do. I think what he was most proud of was how they were growing up to be such terrific people, not boys anymore, but men. He often mentioned how they were becoming leaders in their sports teams and their friend groups. They're both learning how to lead by example, and were putting in the effort required to succeed in everything they do. Just like their dad, they try their hardest, they respect those around them, and have a ton of fun. As a father and a parent, what could be more rewarding than seeing the best parts of yourself in your children? He was unbelievably proud. Not to be outdone by being a great dad, he was also an amazing husband. Cheryl mentioned to me that Michael was ready to be a father much earlier than she was ready to be a mom. So much so that one night he couldn't hold in his exuberance while we were at the kitchen table playing cards. He not so eloquently suggested that Cheryl was unusually large while she was 8 months pregnant. Not a good move. Well, that prompted Cheryl to confiscate our cocktails and prepare Michael for a good night's rest on the couch, no less. And I can assure you all that that story has been repeated in every single late-night card game since. and you still had a second child. Michael loved to show his affection for Cheryl, not just verbally, but physically, always wanting to hold hands in public or cuddling on the couch during downtime. He loved going to outdoor concerts when traveling with her or supporting her through her addiction to Cirque du Soleil shows. He bragged to me about one of his favorite nights, going to a concert to watch his favorite band with his favorite girl. You might not know the band, but you know the girl. Michael and Cheryl are a perfect complementary team. He was very caring, compassionate, and understanding. She is thorough, meticulous, and determined, and they are both great communicators. These characteristics, combined with their incredible love for each other, set the building blocks of a great family, immediate and extended. So, how did we all get here? Many years ago, way before children, Michael, Cheryl, Melanie, and myself, we were all out tenting. We used to camp a lot when we were young, a long time ago. While we were getting ready for the trip, he told me that he was going to propose to Cheryl that weekend. He was so nervous, but really, how could she say no? So one night, having a beer, he told me, or we came up with a secret code that he would say in the morning if Cheryl said yes. So every day went by, and I haven't heard nothing yet coming from the tent. And on the last day, I'm thinking, well, did he ask? Did she actually say no? And was she even here? I don't know, haven't heard nothing. But then quietly, on the last day, Clay, he says Clay. He always called me Clay. Only a couple of guys here know me by that name. He always called me Clay. He says, Clay, you up? I said, yup. And Mike said, Gretzky scored. So I knew the answer, because that was the secret phrase. And that was the beginning of this incredible journey. Trying to speak to the importance of family is difficult. Although our family's team captain is no longer here in person, I can see his impact all around us. The strength of our family and our friendships has been created by Mike's love and his presence. We will always benefit from having him in our lives. So many of you, his friends who have reached out lately, I assume you likely feel the same. I truly believe that Michael regarded most of his friends as family as well. If you came into his life, he probably touched you in a positive way. He had several lifelong friendships with people like Travis and Sherry and Cab, just to name a few, not to mention the guys from his hockey life, like Rob, Pete, Chris, Cam, and Jimmy. I guarantee you guys feel Mike was family as well. There's a famous quote: "The true measure of a man is not how he behaves in moments of comfort and convenience, but how he stands at times of challenge." This describes Michael to me. Just look at how many people he has graced, helped, encouraged, and loved. And then remember, he continued to be that person while living with cancer. He was never dying from cancer. Instead, he lived with cancer to the best and as long as he could. How he stood in times of challenge. Michael truly was an amazing guy. I feel so proud to be part of his family and to call him my brother. I just wish we had more time together. Thank you.
So we're going to take a few minutes to watch a video presentation put together by Mike and Cheryl's nephew, Carter. Just sit and enjoy on the screen there.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? the check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiance didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. First thing we climb a tree, and maybe then we'd talk, or sit silently and listen to our thoughts, illusions of someday cast in a golden light. No dress rehearsal, this is our life. And that's where the hornet stung me, and I had a feverish dream with revenge and doubt. Tonight we smoke them out. You are ahead by a century. You are ahead by a century. You are ahead by a century. Stare in the morning shroud, and then the day began. I tilted your crowd, you tilted my hand. Rain falls in real time, the rain fell through the night. No dress rehearsal, this is our life. But that's when the hornet stung me, and I had a serious dream with revenge and doubt. Tonight we smoke them out.
Hello out there, we're on the air. It's hockey night tonight. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Second period, where players dash with skates aflash, the home team trails behind, but they grab the puck and go bursting up, and they're down across the line. They storm the trees like bumblebees, they travel like a burning flame. We see them slide the puck inside, it's a 1-1 hockey game. Oh,
till the midnight sun. Wheels go round and round on my mind. Restless hearts sleep alone tonight, sending all my love along the wire. They say that the road ain't no place to start a family. Right down the line, it's been you and me. And loving a music man ain't always what it's supposed to be. Oh, girl, you stand by me. I'm forever yours, faithfully. Circus life under the big top world. We all need the clowns to make us smile. Through space and time, always another show. Wondering where I am, lost without you. And being apart ain't easy on this love affair. Two strangers learn to fall in love again. I get the joy of rediscovering you. Oh, girl, you stand by me. I'm forever yours, faithfully. I'm still
Well, I know you're up in heaven, but damn, it hurts like hell. 'Cause I'd just be pretending if I said anything else. And I know God don't make mistakes, but this sure feels like one. That won't change the facts, that won't bring you back. So I'll cry 'cause it's over, and smile because we had you. Packed a whole lot of living even though it ended all too soon. And in time start healing. But even when I get that feeling, no matter where I go or what I do, I'll never not remember you.
So as we move toward the end of this tribute for Mike, I was thinking about how can we bring this whole thing together? What can I say that encompasses all of what you heard here today and ties it in with all of you wearing sports jerseys today? And the thing that kept bouncing around in my head was a Gatorade commercial from the 90s. Just work with me here. In the 90s, Michael Jordan had a Gatorade endorsement. There was a TV commercial where Jordan was playing basketball with kids and adults together. It showed kids trying to copy Jordan's moves. While known as a fierce competitor in the NBA, it showed him laughing and having fun with the kids. And the slogan for the ad was, "Be like Mike." So that slogan's been bouncing around for me, and for all of us here, what does "be like Mike" mean? Well, I think it means being what I call a give the shirt off the back kind of guy. Figuratively, not literally. If it was literally, you might get a shirt from a box of Molson Canadian in the 90s. No, I mean, whether it was coaching, volunteering, parenting, just being a friend, Mike gave everything. In the hardest times in my life, Mike was there. I don't remember asking, he was just there. I tried to reciprocate where I could, though where Mike helped me deal with heavy things, he wanted me to help him lift heavy things. And we're moving the pool table to the basement. That might have actually come from Lynn Radford, now that I think of it. Anyway, that was made of lead, I'm pretty sure. Another time, moving a piano into the house. For this one, I was asked to meet them at the house as they were on their way back from Edmonton picking up the piano. Thankfully, the piano wasn't too bad, though, because it was in pieces after Mike took a turn too fast in Edmonton and spread it out on the back of his truck across an intersection. But we did it, and it plays, just but a scratch. So one other thing that Mike asked from all of us here today has to do with a coaching story that Pete alluded to. Mike told me that one of Kai's teams had a tradition that took hold during a Bantam tournament in Regina, where the boys would sing Country Roads at the top of their lungs before the coaches would come in the room. That camaraderie stood out for Mike, and it was a good memory for him. So Mike wanted us all to be part of that team today and sing along loudly as we cue up Country Roads. If you don't know all the words, just sing the ones you know, and John Denver's going to back us up. But don't leave me up here doing a duet with John.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water. Dark and dusty, painted on the sky. Misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads.
So I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. Thanks to RDP, Hockey Alberta, Parkland Funeral Home for the facility and the arrangements. Please remember to join us upstairs right now for beer and wings, and we can raise one more to Mike. As we queue up one last song, I'm just going to ask everybody to stay seated, let the family leave first, and follow the usher's directions for leaving so we can have an orderly exit. Thanks again, everyone.
Will the congregation please rise as you are able?
Take my trip around the sun. I have known no other master. He has been the only one. Who's the only one? colors fading, 'cause I kept you waiting. It's a while